Give a couple thoughts on Kirk Ferentz's new deal that was announced yesterday by Iowa. So Coach Ferentz has been there, I think, 17 seasons. He's in his 18th season now. Um, he is Iowa football. It's been a model program. They've just done things the right way. Everybody you talk to in the coaching industry, his players, the community, his administration, they all love Kirk Ferentz. So I think it was a great thing for Iowa football to extend him. So it's a 10-year deal. He had 4 years left on his deal, I think. This is basically a 6-year extension, so it's a new 10-year deal through the 2015 season ending. I'm sorry, 2025 season ending 2026. The deal will pay him $4.5 million per season, is what I've read in summaries of the deal that we've seen. I haven't seen the actual contract itself. Um, Everything about that is right. Iowa did the right thing. He's 61 now. That'll take until he's about 70. It's about right. He's your program. Extend him. It's not a big bump. I think he was making about $4 million. This bumps him up to 4.5. Keeps it flat for 10 years. Economics aren't that bad. Nobody really has any gripes with that. The one thing that everybody, including local Iowa folks, were wondering about was the buyout. So Coach Ferentz's old deal was generally considered one of the best deals in the history of college football coaches. His deal was basically guaranteed 75%. If they were to let him go at any time, they'd have to pay him 75%, other than for cause. I mean, if he does some egregious act. But nothing like that's ever happened in his 17 years at Iowa, and nobody expects that to happen. But reading a summary from ESPN, so Rob Howe, who covers Iowa for Hawkeye Nation yesterday, had tweeted out that the buyout in this deal was going to be exceptionally similar to his old deal, meaning 75% guaranteed going forward. An article came out last night, caught my eye from ESPN, that was based on some local reporting. He says, well, it's not really the 75 deal. It's a little bit more complicated. And ESPN was saying this is really better for Iowa. Let's read about that. Here's what it says. So the first 2 years of the deal are fully guaranteed. The next 3 years are the 75%. It's years, what is it, 21? 21 through 2025. So for those seasons, only 50% of the salary would be guaranteed. And this is if they were to fire Kirk Ferentz for something other than a scandal or physical incapacity. This is, hey, we're just not winning enough games. It's time to move on. So he'd only get 50% of his salary for those last 5 years. But there's a kicker. If Coach Ferentz is able to win 7 games, any season from now through 2020, that kicks that number of 50% up to 100% for a similar year in the out years. So you look back at history. If you look at the last 5 years, the last 10 years, or all 17 years Coach Ferentz has been at Iowa, they've won somewhere between 7 and 7.5 games. They've averaged 7 wins, 7.5 wins over the 5-year, 10-year, 17-year. It's like looking at stock. Over the life of the fund, 7.5 wins a year. So let's assume he's going to continue to win 7.5 wins a year over the next 4 or 5 years. If he does that for the next 4 or 5 years, his contract's fully guaranteed for those last 5 years. That makes no sense. There was no competitive pressure here. And it wasn't like the NFL was coming to steal him or another college football team was coming to get Kirk Ferentz. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He's thrilled where he is. He has his family there. He has a wonderful setup, opportunity to win, great facilities now. He is Iowa football. He's not going anywhere. So why does Iowa do that? It doesn't make any sense, especially setting the bar at 7. If we win 7 games a year, it makes your out years 100% guaranteed. 7 wins? I'm just thinking back. I was thinking through the SEC West. Texas A&M fires Mike Sherman. Mike, in his last 3 years, averaged 7 wins. Fired. Gene Chizik gets fired at Auburn. In his last 3 years, I think he averaged 8 wins, including a national championship, and got fired. Houston, not at Ole Miss. 4 years, he averaged about 6 wins. Fired. So I was saying, if you win 7, you're 100% guaranteed. I mean, they play 12 games a year. They're 9 in conference, 3 out of conference. They're 3 out of conference this year. They have a MAC school, an FCS school, and Iowa State. I presume most years in the future will look something like that. Iowa State plus probably a MAC type school and an FCS type school. You should win 2 or 3 of those, right? So you need to win 4 or 5 of your conference games. So if you go 4-5 in conference or 5-4 in conference, that guarantees 100% of your out year's contract. Seven wins is considered a good year. Look, I'm not saying Iowa did the wrong thing in terms of locking up Coach Ferentz for 10 years. I think they did the right thing in locking him up for 10 years. I think the structure, they just left themselves open for criticism. If you're going to win 7 years for the next 3 or 4 years, 10 years is a really long time. If you win 7 games the next 3 or 4 years, you might say, gosh, we're falling behind the pack. Maybe Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State are just doing great. You say, we're now in that second tier, or maybe we're in the third tier. We need to get up to where we're winning 9, 10, 11, 12 games consistently, like some of these other programs might be. You say, we've got to make a change. Well, now he's owed $4.5 million for every year of the rest of his contract, basically. And yeah, there's just a couple of years where it's 75% in the middle, kind of awkward, but you basically guarantee the man, $4.5 million for the next 10 years. I don't know why. Anyway, it's not my money. It's Iowa's money. University of Iowa's money. Taxpayers' money. I understand why a lot of those people are griping about the deal. It's a head scratcher. Great move locking him up for 10 years. The structure and the buyout, 7 wins or expectations, that's something. Anyway, I like the move overall.